Thank you for coming. I'm Barb. I'm the one that lives in Virginia. Some say Maryland. Maybe not. You probably have to think about that twice after what I'm going to say. I started to write this several times, and I thought about how I wanted you guys to think of it, and then I thought about how you guys thought of it, and I asked a few people what they thought when they thought of Terry Konyndyk, and they came up with several four-letter words. Now, please notice how nervous my mother is right now. My son is saying, what? Perhaps the sheriff is saying, phew, and the passengers are using the word pray a whole lot, all of which are four-letter words. So confidence, folks, confidence. The first word is safe, or maybe nice. Dad made people feel comfortable. He got them to smile and laugh, usually within a few minutes. You knew that you felt like you knew Dad forever, and you were comfortable with him. You could trust him. People enjoyed working with him because he was a straight shooter. Well, maybe with that group here, we may not use that phrase quite as much as we should. He actually would have been a good salesperson. Some may have been a little too, he said that he was a little too honest, but he did have that word tact in his vocabulary as well, again, a four-letter word. Another word was cool. Dad didn't get ruffled all that often. Yes, he did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was a very slow burn, and you probably wouldn't know it. When I was in high school, he was the cool chaperone. An example, when some of the boys were sitting on the back of the top of the fence in stadium after a competition, Dad walked up and told them to get down. Most complied, but one asked if Dad was worried he would fall. Well, Dad looked at him and said, I've been watching you all day. I was thinking of pushing. Dad had an answer that you'd expect, that you didn't expect, that made you think, and then later think again and wonder. The young man hopped down and never sassed Dad again. I've seen him work the same effect on a number of adults. Perhaps that's someone you're sitting with right now, but don't look at him right now, okay? Dad enjoyed working with the stars so much that it gave him another way to show that talent to the world, and I'm sure he used that tact and those wonderful sense of humor on some of those power-filled situations that you guys have to deal with. And later on, he would relate the story in such a wonderful way that you'd almost consider wanting to volunteer at one of those sobriety checkpoints. Don't think about it for me, no. I'm in Virginia. Still another word is help. Dad would go out of his way to assist you if he could. This church group, the Rowdies, are a great example. I heard about you gents and how you have a small devotional and then go about fixing and reinventing things in this world here. All kinds of things got repaired. I remember a story of how Dad tried to change a light bulb up there in the sanctuary and got stuck in the ceiling. And although the ribbing about how many people does it take to change a light bulb and how nearer my God to thee was not supposed to be a physical challenge, Dad, didn't quite end for quite a while. He just loved it, and he really enjoyed those meetings with you guys and missed them terribly when he couldn't go. Dad was handy, but he had a few flaws. He and Mom could never decorate a bathroom together. There was just no way. He was part of a cathedral ceiling stairway wallpapering project at a friend's house. Lots of effort and sweat. Later, they realized that although they had matched every seam perfectly, top to bottom, the pattern itself was upside down. No one laughed harder. Dad believed in laughter. You can and should laugh at yourself. After all, everybody else is already. So join the fun. Which brings about another four-letter word, grin. I would thought about smile and laugh, but those are both five, so we can't do that. Another word, care. Dad truly cared about people. He could look at you and see all sorts of things. Frequently, he was too kind to tell you about them. The reason you all felt comfortable around him probably was that he showed that he really did take the time and to listen and care. There's a phrase, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Dad got that one. Although he didn't really consider it for himself. One of our last conversations during this last visit was to discuss how amazing, how many you guys came and kept coming to visit, and how he was amazed by that. And because he hadn't come to do anything with you guys in so long, but you kept coming. I assured him it was because he cared first and showed that to you guys, and that's why you did. Now that we're just returning the favor, I'm not sure he believed that 100%, but he sure was grateful. So, back to my original premise. 4-letter words, the reflection of my Father. I hope you're all breathing again. A memorial service is not the time to stop breathing, by the way, just don't do that. The final word is love. It's a tough one. We all know how much he loved his family and how truly he loved his wife and tried to do everything for her, especially when he knew he was going to go. My kids just read the love chapter. I challenge you to think on that point and put Terry's name in there after the word love. What a legacy. Can you fit that description? Dad knew that love was a commitment to action, not a feeling. And he lived it and showed it for all of us. I believe my sister's up next, so before turning this over, I invite you to share some of your thoughts and descriptions with me later. Heaven knows my family will probably describe them to me. So, thank you. We wrote a lot of the same stuff though. It always happens. We play games and we put things in the same places. We're not twins, thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Konyndyk Robinson. We say Konyndyk here on my side, and Barb says Konyndyk. We don't say Konyndyk. Sorry. I'm not changing, I'm sorry. I'm used to it. All right, I'm the California daughter, the one with the 2 grandsons, the one that lives closest. And my family thanks you all for being here today. Well, you're all here because you knew my father. Well, I grew up thinking that everyone knew my father. As a young girl growing up in Midland, Michigan, I don't think that there was anyone who didn't know my father. If I was lucky and it had been good during the week, if I'd gotten all my homework done. Okay, if my sister didn't want to go, I got to go with my dad on a delivery job for a printing place that he was running. And I'd walk beside him and hold his hand, and everyone would come out and say, "Hey, Terry, Terry, hi, Mr. K." I was so proud. I was walking right next to him. Well, living in a small town, another thing we could always do was ride our bikes everywhere. And so during the summer, when there would be a parade or a community event, we'd all hop on our bikes as a family and ride down to the parade or what was ever going on. By the time that I had wrapped my bike around a tree, I mean that I had tied my bike to a tree, my dad was talking to someone. And I would have to go and get his bike, and find out where I parked my bike, and tie his bike to my bike, and then I'd go back. My dad was either talking to the same person or still talking to someone else. So Wherever we went, my dad knew somebody. Of course, as we were growing older, it wasn't so cool to have your dad know everybody because I couldn't do anything. My parents were always finding out. And of course, I did get away with a few things until my father got to heaven and, sorry. When my parents decided to move to California, I thought, fantastic. Nobody will know my dad. And when my mom and Barb and I got out there, found out, hey, it's true. Nobody knows him. And when Barb came home one evening and said, asked my parents if they would help hemming up some of the new band uniforms that El Toro High School had gotten, I didn't think anything of it. And then a few weeks later, when she asked if they would help on a field show, I was okay with that. And then, I think it was probably a couple weeks later that I got volunteered to help out with a parade. And I got to the school and I suddenly realized how many people were asking Mr. K for help. And I thought, here we go again. My dad went on to become president of the El Toro High School Music Boosters, which way back then included the choirs. And during this time, he and my mom met 3 other couples, all of whom became best friends, and they are the Truckers. And many of you guys will want to know why they're called the Truckers. You'll have to find a trucker and ask them, because I'm not going to tell that story. Anyway, we have 2 of the couples are here today. Now we race forward many years, and I'm married and have 2 sons. Mark comes home and we're trying to think that it's probably junior high age. And he says, I have to interview someone famous, or at least very important. Gary and I looked at each other and went, call Grandpa. Mark called Grandpa, and Grandpa said, well, you're going to have to give me a day, see if I can find someone. And so the next day, my dad calls back. And he says, Mark, do you have all your questions ready? Do you have a nice shirt to wear? And can I pick you up early from school? And Mark says, why? Well, Grandpa had gotten an interview with the then chief of police of Lake Forest, Mike James. The interview went off without a hitch. Questions answered, pictures taken, police pins given, personal phone number for any follow-up questions was there. And then Grandpa went and he took Mark around through the police station and introduced him to a lot of the police officers and the stars and a lot of other city workers. Mark gets home, and the first thing he says to me is, Mom, Grandpa knows everybody. I said, Mark, welcome to my life. And I knew then that the torch had been passed. Today, as I look out at all of you, I see so many people that touched my father's life. I see some rowdies, and that's a group of retired gentlemen that help out with projects around the church. And my dad loved to come here on Mondays, do a Bible study, and help out with the different projects. There are some showboaters here, a theater group from Lake Forest, and how many different projects that he did with that group. Lastly, I see the Lake Forest Sheriff's Department and my dad's beloved STARS co-workers. I want you to know how much my dad loved to put on the uniform and the badge and go to work every week. Nothing brought a brighter smile to his face than to talk about what he did and the friendships that he made with all of you. Even when Dad could no longer go to work, that didn't stop work from coming to him. How many different times did Gary and I stop, and we would hear that the Stars van had stopped by and everybody had said hi. Or that Officer so-and-so had dropped by just to say hi. I'd hear that the police chief had stopped. And of course, I'm sure that the neighbors all wondered what was really going on in that house because of all of the sheriff's department cars stopping there at all hours. There's probably one person that visited my dad more than anyone else, and that was his boss, Rich Nelson. Rich made sure my dad knew what was going on in the office, and I'm sure that all the talk wasn't business because I think they became pretty good friends. When my dad slid downhill the last few days, we called Rich because we knew how much it would mean to my dad, and Rich was there. Rich, thank you for being a great boss, a wonderful friend to my mom and dad. So you can see, my dad knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew my dad. All of you sitting here touched his life in some way. It could have been by working with him, knowing him through church, maybe all the committees that he had been on, or maybe it was taking time to shake his hand after one of his grandson's band or choir concerts, or even after church, shaking his hand and asking him how he's doing. Each of you made a difference. And our family believes that my dad was around an extra year because of all the love and support from people like you. Thank you. Now it is my privilege to introduce Lake Forest Sheriff Deputy Rich Nelson.